2025 is gearing up to be another explosive year for the UFC. But the fights that truly define a year, the bouts that fans talk about for decades, are those that pit the best against the best, delivering unforgettable moments. The matchmakers have an enormous responsibility. They're the architects of the stories we love, the rivalries we debate, and the moments we replay on highlight reels for years. While 2024 left us with some jaw-dropping fights and rivalries, there are certain matchups that must happen in 2025, or we might just lose our collective minds. These are the fights that have all the makings of instant classics, showstoppers, and fan riots if they don't come to fruition. Let's break down 5 fights the UFC simply cannot afford to ignore in 2025. If these matchups don't get booked, we riot, and here's why. First on the list is the potential barnburner between Khamzat Chimaev and Israel Adesanya. It's the fight fans have been clamoring for, a collision between two completely contrasting styles, personalities, and approaches to combat. On one side, you have Khamzat Chimaev, the wrecking machine. Chimaev has bulldozed through most of his competition, leaving carnage in his wake with his relentless grappling, insane pressure, and overwhelming power. On the other, there's Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, the man who paints masterpieces in the octagon with his fluid, technical striking and almost supernatural fight IQ. These two couldn't be more different, and that's exactly why fans are desperate to see them clash. For Adesanya, this fight is personal. After losing his middleweight belt in 2024, he's been on the hunt to reclaim his spot at the top. But in Chimaev, he faces one of the most dangerous threats in the sport, a fighter who doesn't give his opponents a second to breathe, let alone think. The build-up to this fight would be as electrifying as the bout itself. Chimaev's brash, fearless attitude would be the perfect foil to Adesanya's confident, calculated swagger. The press conferences would be pure chaos, with Chimaev promising to smash Adesanya and take his soul, while Adesanya fires back with sharp verbal jabs and psychological warfare. The octagon walk would feel like stepping into an arena for a gladiator fight, with the entire world on the edge of its seat. Styles make fights, and Chimaev's grappling heavy mauling style against Adesanya's precision striking and movement would create fireworks. Can Adesanya keep the fight standing long enough to pick Chimaev apart? Or would Chimaev drag Adesanya into deep waters and drown him? It's a fight that has to happen, and if it doesn't, there might be chaos in the streets. Next up, we need to talk about the rematch we need in the lightweight division, Charles Oliveira vs. Justin Gaethje 2. Their first fight was nothing short of insanity, an absolute war that showcased the grit, heart, and skill of two of the most exciting fighters on the planet. Oliveira, with his world-class jiu-jitsu and indomitable will, managed to weather Gaethje's brutal onslaught of leg kicks and punches to secure a dramatic finish. But Gaethje is a different beast now, battle-hardened and always improving. A rematch between these two would be even more explosive, with both fighters having learned and evolved since their first encounter. Imagine Oliveira walking into the octagon, determined to remind the world why he's one of the most dangerous submission artists in MMA history. Gaethje, on the other hand, would come in with a chip on his shoulder, ready to prove that his power and unrelenting aggression are enough to conquer anyone, even a submission savant like Oliveira. The stakes would be enormous, especially if a title is on the line. Their styles are tailor-made to produce chaos, Oliveira's crisp Muay Thai and slick submissions versus Gaethje's devastating leg kicks and heavy hands. The octagon would barely be able to contain the violence. Every round would feel like it could end in an instant, with the crowd holding its collective breath during every exchange. It's a fight that screams fight of the year before it even happens. UFC, please give us this rematch. Now, let's turn our attention to the grudge match that's been simmering for years, Sean O'Malley vs. Marlon Chito Vera 2. Sean O'Malley, the flamboyant bantamweight champion and one of the UFC's biggest stars, has been unstoppable lately, showcasing his laser-sharp striking and unshakable confidence. But there's one name that continues to haunt him, Chito Vera. The man who handed O'Malley the only loss of his career, albeit in controversial fashion. O'Malley has never shied away from calling it a fluke, while Vera insists it was a legitimate win. This unresolved tension has only grown, and a rematch in 2025 would be nothing short of colossal. Picture this: O'Malley, the reigning champ, stepping into the octagon with all eyes on him, knowing that his legacy is on the line. Across from him stands Vera, the gritty, no-nonsense contender who's hungry to prove he's the superior fighter once and for all. The narrative writes itself: unfinished business, revenge, redemption, and glory. The trash talk leading up to the fight would be brutal, with O'Malley's sharp wit clashing with Vera's stoic confidence. When the cage door closes, it would be a war of attrition. Can O'Malley's pinpoint accuracy and unorthodox striking outclass Vera's durability, power, and relentless pace? The result would have massive implications for the bantamweight division and settle one of the most heated rivalries in recent memory. But what about the heavyweights? The division needs an epic showdown, and there's no better matchup than Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich. Aspinall has emerged as the division's most well-rounded athlete, combining speed, agility, and technique in a way that's rarely seen among heavyweights. Pavlovich, on the other hand, is a terrifying force of nature and knockout artist with the kind of power that can end fights in seconds. This is the quintessential striker versus striker matchup, with both fighters bringing their own unique weapons to the table. The fight itself would be a spectacle. Aspinall's ability to blend striking and grappling would be tested against Pavlovich's one-punch knockout power. Every second would feel like it could be the last, with fans on the edge of their seats, waiting for someone to land the fight-ending blow. The winner of this clash would almost certainly be destined for a title shot, making the stakes even higher. It's a fight that would define the heavyweight division's next generation and leave fans talking about it for years. Finally, let's talk about a fight that simply has to happen: Alexander Pantoja versus Brandon Moreno 4. Yes, a fourth fight. Before you scoff at the idea, remember this: every time these two warriors step into the octagon, they produce magic. Their trilogy has already cemented itself as one of the greatest rivalries in MMA history, with each fight delivering unforgettable moments and razor-thin outcomes. A fourth fight would be the ultimate decider, a chance to settle the score once and for all. Pantoja's relentless pressure and creativity in grappling have always pushed Moreno to his limits, while Moreno's adaptability and heart make him one of the toughest opponents Pantoja has ever faced. This rivalry isn't just about a title, it's about legacy. A fourth fight would be a celebration of everything that makes MMA great: skill, heart, determination, and the unrelenting pursuit of greatness. If you've seen their previous fights, you know exactly why this matchup is a no-brainer. In conclusion, these 5 fights have the potential to define 2025 for the UFC. They're not just matchups, they're stories waiting to be told, rivalries waiting to be settled, and battles that could deliver unforgettable moments for fans around the world. UFC matchmakers, the ball is in your court. Make these fights happen, or prepare for a riot because the fans won't let you off the hook if these clashes stay on the sidelines. Which of these fights do you want to see the most? Let us know in the comments, and let's make some noise to turn these dream matchups into reality.